So it's 4 months since we last got the fans panel to talk about Hull City's push for the Premier League. How things have changed since that initial chat. The guys are back together to have a look at the season so far and look ahead to the impending playoff push. Can the Tigers go forward and hit the Premier League? We shall see. Joining us, our resident experts are back. We welcome back Rick Skelton, the voice and fingers behind the Twitter account HullCityLive. Next to me we have the chairman of the City Supporters Club, Geoff Bielby, and I'm pleased to say a man who has followed the club for, the best part of a decade, writing about Hull City. It's the chief football reporter at the Hull Daily Mail, Phil Buckingham. Gents, thanks for joining us. Where do you think, first of all, the season has tailed off? We'll start with you, Phil. You've watched them for many years. You talked to the manager. You know the staff inside out, and of course the players very, very well. What do you think has been the catalyst for that this year?
It's the $1,000,000 question. For me, it's just inconsistency. You look at the teams at the top of the division, Burnley, Middlesbrough, and to Brighton as well. You have to take your hat off to them. They've never took the foot off the gas. They've never found themselves in a rut like City did in March. And they've just ground out the results and ground it out. And teams that do that, as we see every year in this division, that they're the teams that go up. You know, City had the players, but they haven't produced the form needed when it's mattered.
And what was it about that period in March where it all just seemed to tail off?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to see coming, to be honest, because they had been absolutely flying, and I can't put my finger on it because nothing changed. You could understand if there'd been an injury, if there'd been a sale, if there'd been somebody come in who nobody liked, but there was just nothing that changed really, and the form just fell off a cliff.
We talked at the time, back in January, Geoff, about a plan B. Did Steve Bruce have a plan B? If they were to lose any players through injury, who would he turn to? And striking options were the obvious one. Abel Hernandez has been in good form this year, of course, the player of the year. But do you think at times through some of those games you could see there was a lack of ideas, a lack of creativity?
Yeah, I mean, Abel's done great. I mean, 20 plus goals. We haven't had a striker that scored that many for years. I mean, even in 2008 we went up, Frankie Campbell and Dino only got 15 apiece, only. You know, that was as good as we've had for years. But he didn't have a second option. Diamandi wasn't fit, he was signed with that groin injury. Chuba has promised a lot and delivered in spades at Bury in the cup game. But then there was no consistency in the selection. He didn't get a run of games.
When things started to go slightly wrong, we seemed to be constantly looking for an answer, and changing the team all the time, yeah. And people out of favour, like Chuba Akpom, I still don't know why he was out of favour at all, but he went from being in the team, then he was subbed, then he wasn't even on the bench, and at times we didn't have anybody else. There was loads of chopping and changing, and tried 3-5-2 again, and it was like desperation, but I didn't see a need for it because we'd only lost 1 game, 2 games.
Well, it just all seemed to get on top of the players and the management, where they found themselves on this run where they couldn't pick up the win they needed, and then the pressure mounted, and we saw the games against was it Forest and MK Dons. There were a couple of draws, but you could just feel that any momentum they had in December, January, were just slowly ebbing away.
There have been some highs and have been some lows this year. I'd like to know from your perspective, what's the moment that stood out this season? What has been that special? Whether it was a performance by a certain player or a certain result in the year that you remember, that's the one thing you'll take from this season?
My favourite moment of the season was going to Brentford. I think we went there on a real high. Fantastic ground, terracing, which you just don't get anymore. It was absolutely bouncing. The City were fantastic against a really strong opponent. Brentford played really well, and we dispatched them 2-0. And that was the point where I thought, we're the real deal, and we went.
Phil, for you?
I think it was a few days after that when they beat Middlesbrough for me. That was just such a dominant performance, and we saw like how good a team Middlesbrough were on that day. They had a little flash of it when it was 0-0, and the game could have gone either way. But the minute City got the foot on the pedal, and they just bossed Middlesbrough, and they're a team of talented individuals, and City played them off the park. And like Rick said, after that game, I was utterly convinced that this team would go up automatically.
The other highs for me were the cup games. Accrington Stanley on that terrace at the end, the penalty shootout, and Bury away when we had the whole stand. They were both bouncing, but the result for me was the Middlesbrough home result. And we played pretty well away as well. We were unfortunate to lose that game in injury time.
Now, the disappointment of perhaps not finishing where we hoped City would be. As we've said all along, fourth isn't to be scoffed at. It's not a bad season. It's just weird that we're sat in this kind of mental place at the minute. But now it's down to just a couple of games and then a final. And where do we see the real threat coming from Derby? And do we feel City have the chance to progress here?
I think it comes from the midfield. I think the midfield for Derby has won both games. Like the KC, it was midfielders hanging back on the edge of the box, finding space and scoring goals. And then in the game when they were at home, it was midfielders bombing on into the box and making late runs that defenders struggle to pick up. And I think that's probably why we've had a little look at Maguire, maybe to strengthen the midfield, because you've got to go back with them. And I think City played okay in both games with the ball, but when we didn't have the ball, we didn't make the runs back that they made forward, and it's because they've got pace and energy and stamina in that midfield, and they just make lung bursting run after lung bursting run, and you've got to track them all. And it's okay, you might track 98% of them and then you'll lose the game. So I think that's where City have got to be switched on, particularly away from home, because they'll push on and they will make runs into the box, and you've got to pick them up.
They've got some fans sat in a beer garden somewhere talking about this game right now. They'll be looking at Hull City and thinking, we've got a tough draw here. That's a very good squad. What will they be fearing?
I hope they're overconfident and they're going to think 6-0 on aggregate. We're at Wembley, because that's going to give us a hell of an advantage. There weren't 6 goals in those 2 ties. Sadly, I don't think they will be overconfident, but
no,
we can dream.
They know what's coming, don't they? I think they'll probably look at our wide areas. Certainly the 2 wingers and the 2 full-backs. They know that we'll get forward, we'll get Odebaggio and Robertson overlapping, we'll put a lot of crosses into the box, and I think, in fairness, that's where they're quite strong, aren't they, with the 2 centre-halves. I mean, they're donkeys, but they can head a ball, yeah. So I think that they'll probably try and limit the amount of crosses that we put in and limit the quality we can put in, because I don't see us going through them. I mean, until the Rotherham game, we weren't getting midfielders scoring and getting into the box, so we don't quite have that strength that they do, but we will get wide and we'll put a lot of crosses in.
If that team isn't quite firing, where does Steve Bruce turn to on his bench? Who is the wild card in that squad that can come on and change the game?
It's probably 2 for me. Chuba Akpom, we've seen spells of him during the season where you think, I wish he could do that every week, because I do think there's a really gifted footballer there. It's, for whatever reason, we just haven't seen enough of it. You just have to hope that if you did chuck him on off the bench against Derby, that he was capable of something like that. And perhaps the other wild card might be Harry Maguire in midfield. I don't think that was just a way of counting the clock down that he played the last 20 minutes against. Who did he play on Saturday?
Rotherham.
That's in Phil.
I've got Derby on my mind. Yeah, and so those last 20 minutes. Yeah, and that's the area where City struggled against Derby. They play that 4-2-3-1, and they have the bodies in the midfield, and they just overran City at times. They play with pace, but with control and discipline as well. And City just got swamped in both games, or in the periods of both games that mattered.
Eventful last few weeks we've had, but how important could the second leg be at the Stadium be, and the fans for once maybe just the united front right behind the team, the floodlights on dark night creates that special atmosphere.
Yeah.
Could help the City through.
That Watford second leg in 2008 was a magic night, absolutely magic night. The sad thing is we're not going to be sold out. The last few games there's been 8,000 empty home seats, and that isn't just about the membership scheme. It's just a long list of off-field issues, pricing issues, and we need that ground full next Tuesday, and sadly it's not going to.
Do you think a performance in the first leg can perhaps galvanise that a little bit and encourage?
I really hope so. Yeah. If there's a chance for us to get to Wembley, that's going to get people coming out.
Maybe for one night it needs everybody to just get together and say, look, we've got one shot at the Premier League, because I don't like the consequences, to be fair, of not going up. You see loads of teams, you get stuck in the Championship, you can go anywhere.
Rick's right, it is the big chance this year. They've missed one avenue of going up, and they can't afford to miss another one. When you look at the teams that will come down from the Premier League, there's every chance you're going to have Aston Villa, Newcastle, possibly Norwich, or Sunderland. So you've got Aston Villa plus 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and you'd have to think the 3 that come down will be
The big boys.
Very strong.
you know, they'll be strong. So, and then you'll have the teams that don't go up. It will be a very tough division to get out of next year with a reduced budget as well.
It's been up and down season, as we said, perhaps not the best. City coming in still with plenty of expectation. Will they ultimately A, get past Derby, and B, then go up through a Wembley final? How do you see the next few weeks playing out?
If they play to their maximum capabilities, they will go up.
That's obvious.
Simple from Phil, straight to the point.
You can't say if. That's not a prediction.
My one concern is, and I have felt a bit of a rush of optimism after the weekend, because it was a reminder of how good this team can be. But my one concern is that when this team and this group of players has had to deliver in the last 12, 18 months, they've fallen short at times. Yeah. And that is the concern, whether or not they can string 3 together. They've certainly got the potential to, without a question.
Yeah, I mean, every time they had a chance to go 4 points clear at the top, they bottled it. But we've had a good cup run in both competitions, and this is a cup run. So I'm with Rick. I think we can do it.
I think they do.
What's your thoughts?
I think we'll get something at Derby. I think we'll beat them at the KC next Tuesday, and I think we'll win at Wembley. Because I think we've got the players who won't be overawed by a big day at Wembley. I think if we get through to Wembley, we've got all the players playing the cup final, playing the cup semi-final, and I think we've got the experience. But I think getting through is going to be the hardest bit, because 2 games against Derby is tough. But I'm really confident that we're going to go and get something on Saturday, and then that'll just be, it'll skyrocket.
Well, fingers crossed. I mean, that has been the thoughts of the guys here. We'd like to thank you all for taking the time out to come down. I mean, anything for a free beer. We knew we'd get the free beer. Yeah, apparently so. We're staying for the rest of the night. And of course, it leaves us all to say thank you to our friends here at Garbutt's, where I know many of you will come before and after Hull City matches to frequent here and probably have a beer like this too. And perhaps over the coming weeks, we'll all be back here to celebrate Hull City's push for the Premier League. We wish the Tigers luck.